Welcome to Kadampa podcasts. These podcasts offer practical solutions to daily challenges and help guide us to a happier and more peaceful state of mind. In each episode, you will find an extract from a teaching given by one of various Kadampa Buddhist teachers worldwide. All these teachings are inspired by the profound wisdom of Venerable Geshe Khalsang Gyatso Rinpoche, a Buddhist master for our time. We hope you enjoy listening.
So if we abandon negative karma, negative actions, then our life can become very meaningful. Okay? If whilst our karma is just ripening randomly all over the place, then it's very hard to have a really meaningful life. Because what's happening is it feels like we're on a roller coaster, where life is good and it's bad and it's good and it's bad, and it feels like we're just on this roller coaster. And we've got no control. So how do we find meaning in that? So we just cling, don't we, to the good times, hoping they're not going to change. And then when the difficulties arise, we become very unhappy, just wishing they would change, and then clinging on to the good times. And then when the good times come, we identify those as normal. Don't we think, you've had a difficult time, and then it stops. You think, oh, thank goodness, everything's back to normal. Right? Because we've hit a plateau. Things are okay again. Oh, thank goodness, everything's back to normal. And then it kicks off again. You're in this roller coaster, like in a washing machine with all sorts of stuff going on. And then it's like, stops. Oh, thank goodness, everything's back to normal. Okay? So we still think that a life without any problems and difficulties is the normal bit, and the bit where all the difficulties and problems are is the abnormal bit. Okay? And yet, if we look around us, everyone's in the same washing machine. We're all in the same, aren't we? We're all experiencing the same stuff in different ways, So, and then sometimes things get really bad and they stay bad. And we think, okay, well, this is my new normal. Right? This is my new normal. And we learn to live and manage and work with that. This is my new normal. Okay? But then it shifts again. Other problems, difficulties come, and it kicks that up. Okay? And this is just the nature, isn't it, of human life. But we're looking always externally. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Not understanding that the key to it all is held within our own mind. So the conclusion on that is basically, if we need to understand karma, we need to get a conviction of the law of karma if we really want to change our experience. Because what we need to create the causes for positive karma to ripen. Okay, positive karma to ripen. And now this doesn't mean that we won't still get old and we won't still die. We will. But our experience of it will be different, because what determines our experience of something is the way we feel about it, the way we think about it. Okay? What determines our experience is our mind, isn't it? So if we're all at a hotel together, we're all inclusive and it's absolutely beautiful and the sun's shining down, just what we'd like right now, isn't it? A bit of sunshine. And, now, externally, let's say we've got the best hotel ever, right? Now, and there we are all on our sunbeds, okay? For some people, their minds will be happy, they'll be enjoying it. Other people, maybe their mind's a bit irritated, a bit upset, a bit something about something going on in their mind. So it doesn't matter how good the externals get, it's not good enough. Which is often the case, isn't it, when you go on holiday? There's always people, it's not good enough because they're not happy inside. Or other times, sometimes you can go into circumstances and very difficult circumstances. But for those people, they're not unhappy in those circumstances because their mind's at peace. Which is actually one of the reasons why I started to... It was my interest in Buddhism. A long time ago, I was living in Australia at the time, and I went to a place called Ladakh, near Nepal, sort of. And I spent some time there with some Buddhist families, okay? Very, very poor, and very difficult circumstances they lived in, very difficult. We would really struggle with those circumstances, in those days, a long time ago. So they didn't have electricity, candle lights, blah, 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 blah. But they had something to them. There was some enjoyment in them that was dead in me. It's a funny thing. And yet I'd come from much better conditions than them. I was quite young at this time. I was about 21 or 22 or something. But I just remember being touched by how can people sit in this and be happy? And then I thought back of, people I knew at home with very good conditions and be so sad. So it's not what's happening for us externally, it's what's going on in our mind. That determines our experience of everything. That determines our experience. I've sat with people who are dying, and some people have died very peacefully, their mind very peaceful, and gone so quietly. And other people have sat so scared, very hard for them. Okay? Similar death circumstances, but completely different experience. Okay? So karma helps us to understand that the suffering that's ripening for us, we have to experience because we were born as a human being, and we hold within these potentialities the potential for human suffering, and no one can stop that. Okay? But the way in which we deal with that and the good things that we can experience as a human being, we also have the potential for. So what we have to train ourselves to do then is to create the right internal conditions so that these positive potentialities ripen and these negative ones don't, so that we are then able to endure, grow stronger, become wiser, more compassionate, kinder, etc., in amidst our suffering. Because from a Buddhist point of view, that actually is the real meaning of our life, and that suffering is a method to achieve that. Okay? That without suffering, we can't develop compassion. We'll have some compassion, but not real profound compassion. Without suffering, we can't develop wisdom, not real wisdom. Without suffering, we can't really learn to love others completely. So our suffering, the karma that we have to experience, the suffering we have to experience, okay, is actually our gateway to releasing and experiencing the real reason of our human life, which is to take our mind to its highest levels, which we also are born with the potential for. Okay, so each one of us and everybody we know is born with this potential to achieve immeasurable compassion, immeasurable love, immeasurable wisdom. Okay? We're born with that potential. So what we need to do is to get the right karmic internal causes and conditions so that these minds start to develop. So in terms of our actions, we should never think that any of our actions don't matter. Okay, so from this we can sort of conclude, before we finish, that the more positive actions we can do, okay, the better. Internal, external, okay? Because this creates the causes for our happiness in the future. Now, we don't need to live a life of a superhero, all right, in order to create great karma. Small actions can create great results. An oak tree is born from an acorn. Tiny, it's fun, amazing, isn't it? Tiny little acorn. I think the same with conkers, aren't it? What's the conker tree? Yeah, tiny, aren't they? Conkers and that massive horse chestnut tree. No, I mean, it is incredible when you look at nature like that, from the seeds to what develop. So it's not necessarily the size of our actions. It's not like, oh, now we've learnt these causes of karma, we've got to go out there and be, superwoman or superman and out there, trying to save the world. It's not about that. We can do lots and lots of small good actions. Small actions make a big difference to, it's all about the intention. Sometimes a simple action, which is easy for us, smile at someone who looks sad. Smile at someone who's in a supermarket with their kids and the kids are kicking off. It's a nothing action, is it? Help someone who can't reach the top shelf if you're a bit taller, or if you're shorter, help them from the bottom. We can do little actions and lots of them. And these are like acorns upon our mind. Okay? So it's not like we have to change everything externally. We just have to try to be better people, doing lots and lots of small actions. And people who do small actions, they are amazing. In many ways, they are the real heroes and heroines of our world, because they're the people who nobody knows about. We as a community, living in a community, everybody sort of comes in and everybody's got different personalities and karma and everybody contributes different things. And I had a friend a long time ago who lived in our community, many years ago now, maybe 20 years ago. And she got cancer and she died. And after she died, it was amazing what didn't happen. Now, they weren't big things, right? But it was like she would always clean the tea towels. Right? Now, in a centre like this, tea towels are important, all right? You'll always know who's lived in a community because we always pick up a tea towel. Even in your house, if you invite me in, I'll pick it up and smell it. It's automatic, all right? Because you're working and living with so many people that you can't help. Our cups is another one, right? And she used to bleach the cups. It's another thing when always look in your cup, So there were these small actions that she did, and nobody knew she did them until she wasn't there to do them anymore. Now, she wouldn't have thought she was special, but she always did little things for people. So it's not, we hear these laws of karma and then we suddenly think, oh, now I've got to just, I've got to be much more positive all the time. I've got to be like, jolly and happy and, and it's not about that. You be who you are. Who you are is fine. But we try to incorporate more positive actions in. We try to be kinder. We try to think more positive because we have a choice, don't we, with every situation, whether we see it completely negative or we try to get a different perspective on it. Get a different perspective on it, you're shifting your karma. Okay? If you see everything in a negative way, what happens is you're thinking negative, that then fuels other negative imprints to ripen, okay? So you're getting more and more. This is why we spiral when we get negative, because one triggers the other, triggers the other, triggers the other, and they keep triggering and triggering and triggering all these negative thoughts. And before long, you're down, aren't you? You can't get out of it. But if you can get in there early and shift that and start to the best of your ability, just do something kind for someone or start thinking kind thoughts, it shifts it. Because your mind, and you can test this, your mind cannot hold a positive and a negative simultaneously. Right? So if your mind starts thinking positive, the negative's gone. Right? So this is really important because, I think nowadays we all experience so much anxiety and worry and stress because of the nature of our life. And what's happening is this is triggering so much negative karma internally. So we're suffering much more than what we need to, because we can't control it. So simply by shifting our perspective a little bit, trying to do small actions for others, it shifts our karma. I promise you.
If you feel inspired by this podcast, Then dive deeper into timeless wisdom of modern Kadampa Buddhism by following the link in the episode description. We look forward to reconnecting with you in the next episode of Kadampa Podcasts.